Hey, it's 2.1, Introduction to Margaret Atwood and The Handmaid's Tale. The objective is students will be able to read and analyze pages 30 to 40, chapters 1 to 7. First, I want to give you some background information about our book and our wonderful author, Margaret Atwood. So the first question in your notes is, what makes Margaret Atwood worthy of our study? Let me tell you. Atwood is arguably the most famous living literary novelist today. An article about her from The Guardian said that a couple of years ago, and it is true. So a literary novelist, meaning that she's writing literary works that are winning things like the Booker Prize, of which she has won twice, and that scholarly folks are writing articles about, that people are teaching in their university classes, things like that, right? She has been writing books since 1961, and she publishes about a book a year. So she is now at 50-something books. She's incredibly prolific. She also writes a lot of different genres, sci-fi to mystery. She's written children's book, poetry, all kinds of things, criticism as well, and even some history, nonfiction. She also has a sizable social media presence with almost 2 million followers on X, formerly known as Twitter. And so she has adapted to the times pretty well for an octogenarian, and she is pretty amazing in all of those ways. I think of her as a badass. I love this video, or this image from a video that Random House put out a couple of years ago of her with a blowtorch. They made a non-burnable, unburnable version of The Handmaid's Tale because it was getting a lot of press, and it's been banned often since it was published in 1985, but it was getting, I guess, even more. Either that or technology got to be where they were able to make this unburnable copy. So anyway, here it is. There's a full video of her taking a blowtorch to this unburnable copy that did not, in fact, burn. So she wrote the book in 1985. It was published in 1985. And at that time, it was on the bestseller book list for 15 weeks. So it was a huge bestseller when it first came out. It got back on that bestseller list in 1990, in 1987 when the paperback came out, then again in 1990 when a film version was made, and then again in 2017 with the release of the Hulu TV series, and again in 2022 after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. In 1985, it was a crucial crossover book for Atwood because up until that point, she was sort of a darling in the Canadian literary markets, but didn't have the kind of worldwide fame that she now has. So it launched her into the popular stratosphere. This is a definition of dystopia, and you don't have to write the whole thing down. I bold-faced the most important words, but it's important to know what a dystopia is. The book is classified as a dystopian novel. A dystopia is a futuristic imagined universe in which oppressive societal control and the illusion of a perfect society are maintained through corporate, bureaucratic, technological, moral, or totalitarian control. Dystopias, through an exaggerated worst-case scenario, make a criticism about a current trend, social norm, or political system. So you have to remind yourself when you're reading the book and it makes you mad that this is what Atwood is doing. She's criticizing an aspect about the world she sees and kind of launching it into this exaggerated worst-case scenario of the book, the society in her book, which is called Gilead. Typical aspects of a dystopian novel is it uses propaganda to, the society in the novel uses propaganda to control the citizens of the society. information, independent thought, and freedom are restricted. The citizens are perceived to be under constant surveillance. Citizens live in a dehumanized state, and citizens conform to uniform expectations. The society is an illusion of a perfect utopian world, but of course it is not. This term speculative fiction is important. Here's a definition of it. It's hard to define, so it's a little tricky. Speculative fiction is an encompassing genre, so it's an umbrella term that freely explores possibility and impossibility alike. Well, that sounds very general, doesn't it? Maybe this is helpful. The key to speculative fiction is speculation, or imagining what would happen if. And so a bunch of different texts can be considered speculative fiction: fantasy, science fiction, horror, historical, maybe there's even others, right? But the key is that you are speculating what would happen if, and Margaret Atwood took issue with the term science fiction. That's really why I wanted to talk to you about this term speculative fiction. She said that The Handmaid's Tale and other dystopian novels that she has written are not science fiction. She says in science fiction, it's a genre in which things happen that are not possible today, like spaceships flying all over the place or beaming, from one spot to another. And that's not the case in The Handmaid's Tale. And so she rejected that term science fiction and uses speculative fiction instead. Let's talk about what motivated Atwood to write The Handmaid's Tale.